3. Live from London, Car-Boyz! Yes, we are live.
Hello.
Hello!
Which will be with us.
I am live, yes. I see we are live from London. What is that on your shirt? Are you sponsored by something for the lifeboat people?
It was my old hospital radio station. But everyone says I look like a plumber when I'm wearing this.
The LNR. I always get LNR round to my house when I have plumbing problems over winter.
Hey. So that's what it is.
Okay. Hospital radio. That's all defunct now. Is there any hospital radio anywhere?
Probably not, no.
Probably not. I was in West Middlesex Hospital about 2 years ago, and I got a request on the air. And they were really pleased that I'd actually worked in radio properly many years ago. Which was quite amusing. Bonjour, good afternoon, buenas noches, meine Damen und meine Herren. Willkommen, bienvenue, and salamat datang for everybody listening in Southeast Asia. This, as you can see, we're fighting fit. We're raring to go. We've both been vaccinated. And it should be only a matter of time until we're both killed off in the mass genocide as part of the Great Reset. Only joking. But before they can do that to us, we're going to churn out another show that's all about honest-to-goodness motoring. We've got all the news this week that's been disseminated to us from Big Brother in the news. We'll be answering your motoring questions in the mailbag. And this week, it's perfectly smooth and bulging. And in Richard's take, you see, I've started referring to myself in the third person. In Richard's take, weird, I'll be posing the question of whether or not you're a little bit gauche if you have a private registration plate or a vanity plate on your car in the UK. I've got to be careful here. Here's Simon.
Yes, thanks for that. You already know I have a private registration plate on my car.
Oh, yes.
But it gives me an air of superiority over the common man, much like Paul Daniels with his MAG1C.
I shall say no more.
Actually, that reminds me of a libelous story, but we can't say that on air at all.
Oh, we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, we should move on. It's the show that likes to tell you how it is from the tough front line of motoring. We're back with a vengeance. We're taking you on a wild ride today through the world of cars and motors. So strap on, strap in, and
strap it on. It's not that kind of show.
Yeah, I know.
We don't make that much money.
But it is going to get hairy, they say. This week, more weird and wonderful roads from the Lost Highways section of the show. We also have a classic motor in this week's classic car section. Excellent. This week, we have a true icon, and you'll be shocked as to how much you can pick this one up for. It's the Rover SD1.
SD1. Wow.
You will be surprised at how much you get that for.
Really?
So
I'm excited.
That's later on. Also, we have a cork of a competition on this week's episode. It's all about the wild world of pickup trucks. And if you'll find out if I know my Isuzu from my Ford F-150. But as I drive a Mini, the answer is probably no. So there you go. So stay tuned for all of that and more. I'm Simon Sujo, and I've got prop for this one. I pick up my guitar and play just like yesterday, and I get on my knees and pray.
Simon Sujo on there.
Get fooled again.
Excellent. Simon Suji on there who can't wait to take his medicine from the government. It's a nice vaccine that's been tested about for 3 minutes, I believe. Anybody remember thalidomide? Moving swiftly on, I'm Richard Green, and I woke up in a Soho doorway. A policeman knew my name. He said, "You can go home and sleep tonight if you can walk away," which sums up, I think, the last good night we had out in Soho, which was back in 2019. New sponsor for the show. It's from the people who brought us Scottish independence. It's Scot-free water, and the tagline is "Scot-free water, the taste of poverty." Just saying.
Yes. From the Sturgeon Brewery.
From the Sturgeon Brewery. What does it taste? What does it taste of? Aromatic heather, haggis, Scotch. I'm getting an aroma of an unstable economy. Right, time now on the show For Richard's take, it's where I take a look at the world from my own view, which can often be different from the norm, but will certainly be entertaining. Anyway, you're probably already aware my take is my own opinion and does not reflect the opinion or the show or our sponsors, should we actually get any in real life. But it does overrule everything else. And like an armed German marching towards Warsaw across the European plain, I take no prisoners. Quite harsh that this week. Well, the words are harsh. I promise the topic won't be. It's a bit of a throwaway argument. In most countries, but here in the UK, this subject crosses class divides and literally separates the nation into two camps. Those who love a private registration plate, like my colleague Simon here, and those who couldn't give two shiny shits for one, like myself. I'm afraid that's me. Now, if you're watching this in America, you won't have a clue what we're going on about. In the United States, every individual state has its own vanity plate or license plate, and you can have whatever words or numbers you'd like on them. I mean, I think you're issued some from the DMV, but as long as nobody else in that state has them, and on the grounds they're not too offensive, you can have your very own vanity plate. Now, I lived in the US for a while, and a friend of mine in Vermont had Soccer One, which was, I thought, very cool. A colleague of mine who lived in Miami for a couple of years had the registration plate that read BOLLOX1, so literally bollocks one. Suffice it to say that most Floridians don't know any old Saxon language, and that bollocks is a lovely ancient British word for the testicles.
Yeah.
To register these plates, you pay less than $100. You wander off to the Department of Motor Vehicles in the US, or online, I guess, these days, and you choose your number plate that's already been, as long as it hasn't been chosen by another car, you can have it. Now, the problem is, in countries such as Great Britain and Hong Kong, you have to pay through the nose. And by pay through the nose, I mean pay exceptional amounts of money to get private plates. I lived in Thailand. The most expensive number plate was sold at auction not so long ago for £20,000. The number plate read 999. So that's Gao 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 Gao, I think. Being a very auspicious number in Thailand, and it doesn't sound a lot, but £20,000 is a lot when the minimum wage is a couple of dollars a day. Then here in the UK, where number plates can run up to hundreds of thousands of pounds to buy, the most expensive plate in the UK read 250, and that's sold for more than £500,000. The most expensive plate that currently is on offer is a whopping, wait for it, £10 million. I assume you know what that is.
It's something, it's two numbers, two letters, isn't it?
It's F1, yes.
F1. Okay.
F1. So I imagine many a Formula One driver may be tempted. You could probably buy the same plate in Alabama for less than $100. Famous people in the UK tend to have private plates. Paul Daniels, our Poundland version of David Copperfield, had the private plate that read Magic One. Then, of course, there's the long-lamented dead comedian Bernard Manning, whose registration plate was 1LAF, which you could read, I suppose, as one laugh, unless you're black, and then you read it as R4C15T. You just got to write that down.
Yes.
R4C15T. Think about it, folks. That's the issue over here. Everybody, it seems everybody who's anybody wants to have a private plate. From the man who owns the local garage to the bloke who works behind the bar of your local pub. Not at the moment. And it's not hard to do it. You just take the first or the last three letters of the registration plate. You match it to your initials. So my father has a private plate. His name is John Albert Green. His private reg is A145, but most importantly, JAG, Jag. So his initials on there, but he drives a gold Honda, and the Jag makes it looks like he wishes he had a Jaguar, which I think he does. For less than £1,000, you can get your private registration plate to make your car look like a cut above the rest with its own initials that match yours or even look vaguely similar. But here's the problem. If you have private plates, to me, you look a little bit like you're trying too hard. I think it's a bit of a clash issue in the UK. Those who make their own wealth want to show it off, and those who inherit it, I suppose, are less flash about it. I don't know what wealth I've inherited. I haven't seen it yet. I'm still waiting for my boat to come in. I think it's called the Titanic. To see a private plate, some people who own them, you can look like a little bit of a dickhead. Present company excluded, of course.
Thank you.
We had a car on our Polished Turd of the Week feature on the show that was worth well over £100,000, but it looked awful. And the private plate read B1G Old, spelling out big old. I don't know, big old what? Possibly big old twat. So I think it will remain a universal divide in the UK over who has and who doesn't have a private or a vanity plate. I may get one eventually, and somebody did suggest that I should go out and buy 4WNK3R. That's 4WNK3R the other day. But,
is that your postcode? It must be your postcode.
That is my postcode, but I personally think that's just rude. Any thoughts, Simon? Was your plate? How does your private plate work? Does it?
So, this was my point. So there's a couple of things that you need to remember here. So,
yes.
I show you view. You do look like a twat driving one, though I must confess I do hate private number plates.
Ah, so you have a private number plate, but you hate them.
Yes, but I do hate them. Why I did it's a long story. But at the same time, there's two arguments to this. So I think I'm not a fan of necessarily of making words up. So PEN1S, for example.
Oh yes, PEN1S. Excellent.
That doesn't quite work.
Or PEN15.
Yeah, but I think so. Like mine's quite unusual because my surname's quite unusual. So it's my first name and surname. So it kind of doesn't mean anything to anyone but me. So it's not initials or anything like that.
It's not. But your initials would be SS, which
yes.
I thought, unless you're driving a Jaguar SS, or you're a member of the
German vehicle,
the Third Reich who managed to escape, you don't look old enough. Might I say?
Exactly. But there's another thing. So I also think it depends on the car you're driving.
Oh,
so
right.
if you're driving, I don't know, a beaten up Nissan Almera, it's not gonna look right. It's probably worth more than the actual car is. But there is a guy, I think his name is Charlie Mullins, who owns a plumbing company in Southwest London.
He's brilliant. He's awful. He is if you had a chart,
patron saint.
He would be the patron saint of nouveau riche. He really is. He's great. He's got something like a blue Rolls Royce Corniche and lots of plastic surgery. And he's about 6 and a Rod Stewart haircut and a shiny suit. Yes,
and the thing is, all of his vans have personalised number plates, whether they're B00 or BOG for bog or P00. They're all toilet and plumbing related. So
excellent.
He does it, but I think it's because he said his mum said you've made it if you've got personalised number plate. Also, there is a radio presenter who has a podcast. She's got a guest on her show this week. It's Dave Hill from Slade, and he has a Rolls Royce, or he had a Rolls Royce with the number plate Yob1.
Nice. That if you're listening in America, Yob means ruffian.
Yes.
Or sort of uncouth person. What do they say? I don't know what they'd say in the States. Sort of scumbag, I guess.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, but Yob1, that's very good. Dave from Slade, that's fantastic.
So I think it depends.
Do you know what? I think if you own a Silver Shadow Rolls Royce or any vehicle from the 1970s, you're allowed to have that. I would say that actually by law, you should have like a Jimmy Savile personalised plate. It should be. One, he had one. Jimmy Tarbuck had one. I once was on a bus because I'm from an impoverished background, and Bruce went past me in his gold Rolls Royce Silver Shadow with his, I don't know, it said sort of BF4 or something, Bruce Forsyth 4, something like that, but it looked quite cool. So yes, it remains a contentious subject, but I think we've sort of tackled it this week.
Yeah,
shall we do?
You do look like a twat driving one. Yeah.
You have to accept that is the law. Oh, hang on, go get the right news music. That would help. It isn't here, so here we go.
And first off, this week you would pay more money to avoid Birmingham news. The charge to use the M6 toll road this week has increased by 30p per journey. From Friday the 4th of December, when this show is being recorded, operators will hike the peak hours weekday charge for those at the wheel of passenger cars to £6.90, which is a rise of 20p, and weekend trips will jump from £5.60 to £5.90. The latter is an inflation-busting rise of more than 5%. However, it's only the car drivers who will be stung with the car charge increase, with rates for vans and trucks remaining unchanged as part of the support measures for businesses. It has been confirmed. The price hike for cars comes 17 months after the motorways operator, the Midlands Expressway Limited, increased the peak weekday charge by 30p in July 2019. The operator MEL added that the hike is part of an ongoing focus on delivering high levels of customer service, reliability, and journey time, flexible pricing models, and products to suit the specific needs of drivers using the M6 toll. It's estimated that more than 50,000 motorists use the M6 toll every day. The more expensive rate is called the mainline price and is
Ooh.
charged to those using the full length of the motorway exiting via the north or south mainline plazas. I do like the M6 toll road. I used to
Busy, isn't
drive
it?
it
Look.
on. Well, that's the thing, and it's strangely deceptive. I know at night time, because there are no lights on it either, and there's hardly anyone on it. It's great. You pay for the privilege of driving on a road that no one else drives, and there's no one about, and you can easily find yourself doing above the speed limit on that road
Maybe
because
1 or 2 miles an hour, but only,
yeah, obviously, but yeah, it's quite easy to go less than 2 miles an hour on that road.
Because I'm confused because you pay. It's very rare that you pay for a road in the UK. I mean, toll
Yes.
roads historically, going back to medieval times, you
Yeah.
did pay for toll roads, and then you paid for bridges. I think the bridge across the
The Dartford
yeah,
Bridge.
the Dartford
That's
Bridge you
yeah.
pay for. The bridge into Wales now is free.
Yes.
And my father always used to joke they should charge you just for coming out, not for going in, because he loves the Welsh. Um, but that's free both ways.
Yes.
And I think the bridge over the River Severn, the really old one, which I think is in Bar Kingdom Brunel, you paid something
Yes.
like 10, 20p to go across there. I don't even know
Okay.
if you pay for that. But we already pay a road tax for the
Yes.
roads. The vehicle excise duty that goes on that we pay, 10% of that goes on the roads.
Yes.
So I don't really know why we're paying for this. I've done it once. Now, I last went on the M6 toll road in 2004, and I paid, I think, £2. I
Well,
think it was
that's
two
the thing.
quid.
It's like the because we went over the Dartford Crossing Bridge, the QE2 bridge, as it's now known, and originally the toll was to pay for the bridge, but the bridge has now been paid for. So why are you paying more to go on over the bridge? I don't get it. And actually now you're paying to go through the tunnel as well. So it used to be only just one way over the bridge that you paid, but now you also got to pay through the tunnel. So they're getting £4 effectively from you.
I've got the list in front of me what you pay for. So a main
Yes.
line is, contrary to what Lou Reed would say, it's not sticking a load of heroin in your arm. That's doing the whole length of the motorway. That's £6.90 in a car. If you've got a trailer, it's £10.30. If you've
Yeah.
got a motorbike, it's £3.20. I think
Wow.
I'd just go, screw this, I'll go around the M6, because if you're on a
Yeah.
motorbike, you can just go.
Yeah.
Which I find amazing that motorbikes aren't either free or maybe a quid.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still park motorbikes in central London for free, can't you?
Mm,
I don't think.
yeah.
So I was surprised at that, but there you go. M6 charging us more. Yes, rip off Britain. Here we are. Meanwhile, in moving on, and in cars and their owners' news are both getting fatter news. A new study has revealed that parking is becoming an increasing struggle for drivers as the size of the latest vehicles has grown dramatically, whilst the base sizes in car parks or parking lots have remained unchanged for half a century. Car owners are being left with no room to squeeze out of their cars, not helped by their increasing guts, in public car parks. Spaces have remained constant since the 1970s. A comparison of vehicles on the sale today and similar cars from 50 years ago shows that some motors have expanded by as much as 55%. And big SUVs are now taking up almost 90%, I did say 90% of the car parking space. Begs the question, how are we expected to park the latest cars and exit, especially if suffering from mobility issues and if we're spending too much time in Greg's. Parking guidelines haven't changed in 50 years, with the requirements for public bays to be, I'll do it in the old money, 8 feet
Yes.
wide by 16 feet long. The British Parking Association says these dimensions are neither minimum nor written in tablets of stone, and councils and car park operators are free to designate their own bay measurements. I don't know if you've ever been in a car park that you regularly go to. I have, and you can find the sneaky one that's a little bit wider. Not
Yes. Yeah,
not the
yeah,
one
yeah,
for
yeah.
kids. Suddenly, oh, if I park in that one, and then you're
Yes.
really hacked off if some son of a bitch is parked in it, especially if they've got like a really tiny car, because it's a waste.
Mm.
However, it remains one of the most common size used to ensure the 8 feet by 16 feet. While this might have been sufficient for mainstream vehicles in the 1970s, now starting to put a squeeze on 21st century drivers. So that is what your average car parking space looks like now, and those cars are quite large. You've got a
Yeah.
little Peugeot, which is probably the smallest, and still that's taking up most of the space. With modern car design and stricter safety standards demanding larger crumple zones and more reinforcements to protect drivers and passengers in crashes, vehicles are undoubtedly getting bigger, and their increasing dimensions are somewhat out of control. Are somewhat out of the control of manufacturers. These ever-tightening spaces have unsurprisingly contributed to thousands more incidents in car parks, costing drivers and insurance millions annually. Now, the most extreme example from the platform Car Gurus online found that the Land Rover Range Rover, here's a picture on the right of the new one, takes up 86% of the standard parking space, leaving just 21 centimeters of room for drivers to get out. So look at that. That's the old one.
Yeah.
And that's the new one. And pennies to a pound, there isn't any more space in that new one. I almost guarantee that. It's all crumple zones.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know,
We've got a couple of more examples of these, haven't we? We've got
yes,
this one.
I don't know who would drive this, but apparently somebody likes these cars. The one on the right is the newish Mini, and the one on the left is the old Austin, British Leyland, Morris Mini from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the noughties. And it's almost twice the size. I would hasten to say that's not a Mini. I worked in a car park way back 25 years ago, and it was probably built in the 1970s. So it was 20 odd years old when I worked in there. And you had people coming down. It was, can I say housewives? Because it literally was.
Yes.
Women going, I borrowed my husband's car. I can't get it out. And I'd go upstairs and find they'd parked it. They could get in, but there was like this much room, half a centimetre, or was it, I said to my wife an inch, half a centimetre down one side by a bollard.
Yeah.
And we're sat there, and me and my mate would be literally trying to bump the car over so she could actually get it out, or we just get in and drive it. I've got a Honda Accord. I think it's the size of a large Rolls Royce from the day.
Possibly, yeah. I found one. This is a size comparison between the old 911 and the new 911.
That's put on some girth, hasn't it? That's been in Greg's stuffing his face.
Quite a big ass on that one. Yeah. So that's the old 911 and that's the new 911.
The J-Lo 911.
Yes. So there you go, cars are getting much bigger. Moving on, and in which city has the worst drivers news? Over 2.6 million motorists across Britain have had points on their licence, according to the latest statistics. Of these, some 8,600 have accrued more than 12 points on their licence, which should, by law, have resulted in disqualification. However, motorists have for years been able to abuse the legal loopholes to claim that the ban from driving result in them losing their jobs and lead to exceptional hardship, with magistrates taking a lenient stance, those accumulating multiple penalties. A new investigation has identified which parts of Britain have the most drivers with 12 or more points on their licence and should have already been banned. Is one of them yours? Who knows? Latest figures published by the Department of Transport at the end of September and analysed by the car finance provider Moneybarn shows that Birmingham tops the table for having the most drivers on the road who should be disqualified. Some 340 motorists in the area have 12 or more points on their record, with one driver in particular racking up a staggering 27 points.
Wow.
Birmingham's position at the top of the standing comes as no surprise, with the West Midlands recording an average of 106 speeding offences per day during the first lockdown earlier this year. Liverpool follows in second place with 232 offenders collecting 12 points or more. Incredibly, one Liverpudlian resident has amassed a shocking 60 points on their licence. So they still are the worst offender in Britain. So let's see who in the UK has secured the most penalty points and is still on the road.
Well, in at 5, it may be a city that issues the most passports, but one lady driver has amassed 149 penalty points. Coming in at 5, it's Peterborough. Meanwhile, joint place at 4, it's north-south divide with 2 men, one from Wigan and one in Brighton, racking up 51 points each. In at 3, she loves the crack. It's a female driver from Liverpool whose licence is so huge it has to have space for 60 points. Close but no cigar for a man from Rochester who to date has 66 points on his licence. That's in at 2. But the winner of the most points on their licence goes to a lady from Brighton who takes the top spot this week with 68 points. That's a hell of an insurance form to fill out.
There you go, 68 points.
Now, if you're listening abroad, you're going, and the maximum you're supposed to have before you lose your license is 12.
Yes.
So you literally do past 4 of these. That's about 500 quid. No, 300, 400 quid fine plus no license. Yeah. You get caught speeding 4 times over a period of 3 years, no license. How does a woman from Brighton get to do 68 points? So every time you get zapped, it's 3. Yeah. So wouldn't you know after the 3rd time, I've got to be a bit careful. 68 points. So what the judge has said is, you obviously need this car. Maybe you've got a child who's disabled, or you've got a job that's really vital, but you get to keep your license. I want to know who these people are and what they do. There's a TV program we need to make.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. And finally, in local council are behaving like pricks news. Wait, it's not rude. It's not rude. A new traffic sign. Let me show you the traffic sign. And finally, in local council are behaving like pricks news. There you go. A new traffic sign launched by the Department for Transport for councils to display on the roads with high populations of hedgehogs, you see, pricks, and other small animals has received a prickly response, with just 1% of authorities applying to use it. The sign unveiled last year displays one of the spiky creatures in a red warning triangle and was designed to help preserve dwindling hedgehog numbers and reduce the number of people injured in collisions involving animals. However, of the 343 councils that could have requested to display the signs on their roads, only Newcastle and Middlesbrough, Surrey and the East Riding of Yorkshire applied according to a Freedom of Information Act. That's according to the AA. The Department for Transport clarified that 4 had failed to evidence any concentrated areas of small animals habitually in the road or provide any accident data. The Council and Animal Conservationists will query how they can feasibly provide evidence of hedgehog badgers and otters being at risk on their roads. The decision to deny these authorities has left the British Hedgehog Preservation Society, and they're not a society to be messed with, bristling in frustration. There you go. There's some. He's bristling in frustration. Is that the society?
Really? No. But he does save hedgehogs. That's what he does.
Yes. So the guy on the in the left, of course, is Brian May from Queen, who looks like a badger and saves badgers. Hedgehog numbers have plummeted in recent years, halving in the volume since the year 2000. The animal species now find themselves on the red list of endangered species in the UK. New traffic warning sign was launched in 2019 by the former Transport Secretary Chris Grayling. It followed a hedgehog summit called by the Environmental Secretary Liz Truss to understand what measures and schemes could be put in place in a bid to protect the mammal. The traffic sign design was unveiled as the Department for Transport said hundreds of people are injured every year in collisions involving animals on the road, claiming that 629 people were injured and 4 people were killed in 2017 alone. But it wasn't a bloody hedgehog, was it? There was a deer. It's not a rabbit, a weasel, a hedgehog, or a badger. It's a deer. And I'm from the countryside, and I went home to see relatives. It was before lockdown happened, so don't start dobbing me into the coppers. And a family member had a bit of an emergency at the midnight hour, and I had to drive them to an accident and emergency, and I saw 3 deer. And when I drove back the next day, because I had to go back to the hospital to pick up some medication, there was a deer in the middle of the day right beside a dual carriageway just looking at us.
Ooh.
And my sister's had a car written off by a deer. My grandfather's had a car written off by a deer. That's the big issue. Listen, when I was a kid and I first started driving, you used to drive over rabbits and hedgehogs. You didn't give a toss. You just went, oh, look, oh yeah, rabbit. And you'd get 100 yards down the road. There's another rabbit. But we did have a pet. We had sort of a pet hedgehog in my last house that used to come and visit us in the garden. And then I found him in the gutter squished. Oh. Because it was a busy road we lived on. So it's a bit of a shame, really. But
by the way, I did show you a picture of Chris Grade in there. That was him. That was in his previous job.
Excellent. Yeah, he looks entertaining sort of guy. I think he was in a movie I watched recently. Doesn't he blow up New York or something in the 1970s?
He couldn't blow up an inflatable bed, let alone New York.
Hang on. I think it's is it time now for classic car selection?
It is time for classic car selection.
Here come the band. Yeah. Thank you, Dizzy. Back in your hole.
Yeah, of course they're now in. Half of them are still in tier 2, and half of them are still in tier 3.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes with them. This week it is this car that we're talking about in the classic car selection. It is the Rover SD1. SD1, which can actually be considered as the last British Rover, being the final Rover badge vehicle to be produced in Solihull, as well as being the last to be designed largely by the Rover company engineers. Future Rover models will be built at the former BMC factory in Longbridge and Cowley. It was produced in 1977 and 1986 and was replaced by the Rover 600. There's one now in blue, and it won the 1977 European Car of the Year title as well. David Back was the head of the design team, and he was inspired by exotic machinery such as the Ferrari Daytona. If we look at the front lights, that's where you can see that was inspired.
Yes.
And the 365 GTC. Also the 1960s design studied by Pininfarina from the BMC 1800, which also guided the design of the Citroen CX, if you didn't know. Spen King was in, that's really his name, Spen King, was responsible for the engineering. No, Spen King.
That's his brother.
Yes. The two had previously collaborated on the Range Rover, so all looked well. The cars were designed with simplicity of manufacture in mind, in contrast to the P6, which it replaced, as surveys showed that although automotive press was impressed by the sophistication and revolutionary designs, the general public weren't interested in at all, unless they were with good results. The highlight of this car was the dashboard of the SD1, which we've got a picture of it here.
Oh, yes.
This is the dashboard.
I was hoping you were going to mention this.
It features an air vent. If you have a look at the air vent, is there?
Yes.
Directly facing the passenger. And
Perfect.
the reason for this was the display binnacle sits on top of the dashboard in front of the driver to aid production in left-hand drive markets, since it avoided the expense of producing two different dashboards for left-hand drive and right-hand drive.
Brilliant.
The air vent there doubles up as the passage for the steering wheel
column. Yeah.
And the podular display binnacle can be easily fitted on top of the dashboard on either the left or right-hand side. However, as we said this on the show,
when you turn the corner, does it slide?
We've said this on the show before. There were no left-hand drive models though that were produced. Do you know why?
Go on, why?
The reason was there was a British Leyland toolmaker strike in 1977.
So it's blame the socialists. I was going to say, the only place I've never seen an SD1 outside the UK. Yeah. The only place I've ever seen a Rover outside the UK, I've seen a couple in France, Malaysia, Australia, but they drive on the correct side, the left-hand side.
Yeah. So this is actually a picture of a left-hand drive version, but I guess that's just like a show car. It's not.
Well, oh yes, it is. It's a left-hand drive version. But if you turn it upside down, it is a right-hand drive.
Yes.
That's for our Australian viewers. Or I should say viewer.
It was this concept was not entirely new. It had been used in the Range Rover before and was used again in the Mark I Austin Metro, both of which were designed by the same man, David Batch. Engine choices came with a 2-litre 4-cylinder unit, a 2.3, 2.5, or 2.6 V6, and the amazing 3.5-litre V8 Rover V8 engine. It had a choice of 3-speed autos and or 5-speed manuals. Poor construction quality was apparent everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Even in the company's press department fleet, one motoring magazine reported that the test car suffered from poor door seals, with daylight visible inside
Yay!
past the rear door window frame.
Yay!
What do you look for other than poor build quality? Check for obvious signs of overheating, especially on the V8s. Check for oil leaks on the joints of the suspension, as these have been known to fail. The braking system has also been known to be quite heavy on pads and shoes, because this has got rear drum brakes. These are all minor though compared with the bodywork issues, which were like flaking paint.
Yeah.
That was common, and the enemy of in this climate is always rust.
Yes.
Later cars though were better built. So how much would you pay for a car like this, which incidentally was in the video to Human Don't You Want
Don't
Me
You Want Me
Baby?
Baby? Yes, of course, I forgot that.
There was also one story where John Steed in the New Avengers, he
Yeah.
drove a yellow SD1,
Patrick
and
McNee.
yes, and Cowley in the first series of The Professionals also drove a yellow one, and the
Yes.
rumor was they were actually the same car, but they just changed the number plate.
Brilliant. Genius.
So how much would you pay for one of these iconic cars?
Pound.
There were over 300,000 that were produced a couple of years ago. A
Right.
scruffy car would go for £1,000, with average ones being about 6,000. But
Okay.
I looked online today.
Yes.
I have it here, which is a 1984 3.5-litre V8 SC with 36,000 miles on the clock.
Wow.
I don't know if that's genuine, but it looks
Okay.
it. And this was for sale for 12,995.
Really?
Yes.
995. Full service history?
Yep, it's all documented, or it's on
Okay.
another page, but it's all documented there.
Wow.
So there you go.
12,000, 13 grand.
13 grand for a
Wow.
classic car like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you convinced me.
Why?
I don't know. The thing is, I hated I remember these cars. I'm old enough to remember when they were out, and I effing hated these cars.
Really?
I thought they were horrible. They were out about the same late 70s, early 80s. My dad had a Cortina, which I still think looks better than that. I think the last generation of Cortina looks better and was a better car. I think then the Sierra came along, and if you spent the money on a 4x4 Sierra, the 2.9, I think that was a better
V6,
car.
Yeah.
I just have a even though I have got a lot of family members that worked at Rover and Land Rover and Jaguar.
I remember my friend, his dad had a Rover like this, an SD1, and I think it was. I thought it was quite wide because we could fit 4 of us in the back. It was that big.
It was the 80s. Nobody gave a shit. I remember being in school and we'd all learned to drive, and somebody had a Mini. We got 2 blokes in the passenger seat, 1 in the front, and about 5 or 6 in the back. It was the original Mini. Nobody gave it to us.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you like a Rover, go for it. But I've always hated these cars. I don't know what it is.
I love them.
And Den had one from EastEnders. Dirty Den had one.
There you go. More reason to hate it. So there you go. £13,000 for that Rover.
There you go. Suggest your classic cars, rusty or not. Email the boys at car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook, car-boys at Car-Boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boys at car_boys. Instagram at car_boys with 3 Zs. And suggest a classic car for us to have a go at. I think we lost highways.
Yeah.
Here we go. Wow.
So, yes, this is the Lost Highways. It's our feature where listeners email us in and give us their favourite roads and the reasons why they love them. It could be a quite coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it can be a straight two-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and invites you to gun the pedal to the metal. Whatever your point is, let us know your perfect driving road here on Car-Boyz. The details were flashed up there briefly, and we're not going to do them again, but there you go. It's there.
That, press
Pause
stop.
the video. Yeah. Yeah. First up in the box this week is Yodeling Arnie, who says, "Dear Car-Boyz, dear Car-Boyz, there's more to Austria than castles
Get
and
to the
apple
chopper. Get to the chopper.
We do have some great roads and views like the Großglocken High Alpine Road." He says the 48-kilometer stretch connects Bruck in Salzburg. I think I've been on this road.
Okay.
To Heiligenblunt in Carinthia. Peaking at 3,000 meters above sea level, hitting altitudes of 2,500 meters. The Großglocken is the highest surface mountain road.
We're losing Austrian viewers. You do realise.
It's fine. It's the highest mountain pass road in Austria. They definitely cannot be missed for this spectacular views. 900,000 people per year visit this road and tackle Austria's highest mountain. Visit the Kaiser Franz Joseph Horn for its information point, 1,000-meter square exhibition space and visitor centre. Find out more about the Thünen National Park and hike in the summit, or hide in the summit.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if you want to leave the car behind, you can take the Glacier Railway, which cuts across the ascent in half. This is a busy tourist route and also a toll road, so they have toll roads as well.
Yeah, you see.
So make the most of your drive. Visit as early as possible to avoid peak traffic. Take the guided tour to the National Park Ranger or meander yourself, obtaining great views of the Pasterns Glacier as well. So there you go. That's the Austria. I'm pretty sure I've been to Austria probably about 20, 30 years ago, I'd have thought.
Okay.
And I don't remember this, but I think I've probably been on this.
It's very pretty. Very, very pretty. And you can get to the chopper as well. Come and visit my home country, California. And finally, in this segment, Lefty Lucy emails in and says, in the good old days, she says, Car-Boyz, farm to market. So that I just had an image of something else. Farm to market were made so farmers could get crops to the country seat without having to drive their tractor or buy a mudding 4x4. Where is this? Oh, we're America. When some FMs farm to market, not. When some FMs were paved, farmers didn't want a concrete mucking up their patches of land. The result was roads built between those patches, with straight sections connected by a sharp 90-degree turn. She said her favourite is the FM 455. This is Dallas, Texas. For the first point, 25 miles, to Pilot Point FM 455, north of Dallas. It's a mass of these straights and 90-degree turns strung together, making it a superb stretch for acceleration brake transitions and low-speed apexing. The thing is, Dallas's decades-long expansion north is starting to seep into the FM 455 here, to the point that this portion has been varying states of repair for many years. Once you power past the 2-mile stretch that crosses the Lake Ray Roberts Dam, FM 455 becomes a meandering series of gentle turns and swells, with a few more of those right-angled corners peppered in to keep you and the farmers honest, all the way to Montague, the farm to market, the roads in America. But they do look paved. They've changed them since those times then, so they're tarmacked now. I think really we should have had a talk, because I did German for a year. So maybe I should have done. You should have done American.
No, it's fine. I think our Austrian fans love my pronunciation of something.
Yes, and I know how you like farm to market. Yes. I believe it's time to get out. Oh no! Before we do, I think the mailbag. Of course, it's the polished turd of the week. It's back by popular demand. The polished turd of the week. It's hello. We've gone to Hawaii. Back by popular. There you go. Popular request to the show is the turd of the week. It's where we get viewers to send in pics of the worst car they've ever seen. We show it off to the world. It could be a 1.1 Ford Fiesta, Popular Plus, with a huge exhaust pipe and dump valves and a KRL filter, or it could be a 1996 Vauxhall Cavalier covered in rust with its rear bumper gaffer taped on. I like it when they change tune. Whatever the car you think could have sent the mountain of feces to be crowned polished turd of the week. Send your pictures to us. Now this week, I'll stop that now. This week, the car is from Asia, Malaysia to be precise. Ezra emails the show. He says, Salamet Pagi, Car-Boyz. Hope you're okay. He drives a small Peugeot Cancil, which he freely admits is an awful tiny car. It's a Malaysian car, but it's based on a Japanese K car with a 660cc engine. He said, it gets me around the streets of Perak, and he said, that's okay with me. But he has a friend, a flash friend called Abdul, who drives what he thinks is a great car. But Isra believes it to be in the running for Turd of the Week. This is a 2004 Proton Iswara with a monster of a 1.3-litre Mitsubishi engine. It's basically a 1990s Lancer. His friend has added a 1.1-litre Mitsubishi engine. Just let that sink in. Look at it. His friend has added tinted windows, extra loud exhaust, dump valves. It sounds great, but it's still quite a slow car. He's also added white rims, as we can see from the picture here.
Much bigger than the bodywork.
Much bigger than the bodywork. So he's had to widen the wheel arches as well as lowering the car. And he's resprayed it in the colour of baby poo gold. Our polished turd of the week. It goes to Abdul, whose car is even painted in turd gold. What a rotter. You do. Malaysia, I lived briefly in Malaysia, and you see cars like this going around. I used to think, oh, that's very exciting. I've never seen this car, this Proton. And of course, Proton did briefly have a relationship with Lotus, and I say briefly, but really, they've got 1.3-litre engines. Actually, he's blacked out the headlights as well, hasn't he, on that?
Yes.
It looks like it's a very 1980s car, but 30 years after date, and it's a 1980s designer. He's cool though. The reason for this is, and people forget this, places like India, Malaysia, Thailand, there is between 150 and 200% import duty on a car. So if you have a car that's worth £10,000 in the UK, it can cost you in excess of 200. Is that right? Yeah, 200 to. So if it's a 200%, so it'd be £40,000.
Yes. Something like that.
Yes, it's right. Yeah. Because a 10 grand car can cost you £40,000. Nobody can afford that. And I tell you something, they did. This is the Aerobac Proton. That was last in Malaysia, they were still selling this model. Now you could buy one of these brand new in Malaysia, brand new with a 1.6-litre, not the 1.3 engine.
Yes.
In manual, 4-door. They did an Aerobac version, which this is with not the boot, with the hatch. £3,500.
Wow.
£3,500 brand new car. And all right, it's a 30-year-old design, but really, what are you going to do if you're Malay? You're going to go out and get one of these.
But the thing is, if it's Mitsubishi underneath it, you'll just buy parts and soup it up, as Mr. Man has done here.
And that's what Abdul's done. So thank you very much, Abdul. And anybody else that wants to get their car onto the turd. Oh, that might make you want to say nurse. Give us a bell at Car-Boyz. Now, and also you can give us a bell if you drop us a line if you want to get in touch and in regarding to our mailbag. Of course, it is time for the mailbag. It's time for the show when we delve into the bulging sack that's known as the mailbag. This week, it's overflowing. Enough of that medieval malarkey. There we go.
I like that. First up, Karina in Kansas says, "Howdy, Car-Boyz. Hope all yes, we
Howdy.
are all good." She inherited her late granddad's 2005 Buick Park Avenue. There it is.
Ooh.
Is that bullet holes in the front wing
I
or
think this
Evans?
is with the Buick Park Avenue Ultra, and I don't think it does anything, but it looks quite cool, doesn't it?
It's a huge car and in good condition with only 78,000, I'm guessing that's miles, not kilometers on the
Yep.
clock. It's been parked outside her grandma's house since 2017, but last year Karina got it serviced and put it back on the road. No issues, but the fuel gauge gives all sorts of incorrect readings. It's probably made by Smiths, that's why.
Yeah.
When it gets below halfway. What's the problem? And is it expensive as there really is, as it really isn't an expensive car? Um,
Well,
yeah, what we suggesting? Put tape
well,
over it.
yeah, put tape over it. Just ignore it. So this is a real boat of a
It
car.
is, yeah,
The auto box is 4 speed, big engine, not much acceleration though. It doesn't handle well. It's very floaty and American.
yes,
But they were built like tanks. Low mileage ones, seriously, from this era,
yeah.
can command $3,000 to $4,000. Her
Wow,
problem could be very. It could be expensive, or it could well. It could be expensive that you can't really be bothered, or it could be cheap.
yeah,
So it could be a failure on the instrument cluster. That's a big job because it's hard to find a spare instrument cluster. We had a look online. You could find a recon one for $100, but there's no
okay,
guarantee that that's not going to then fail.
yeah,
But the problem is the labor because you've got to pull out the dash. More likely, this is going to be the fuel sender in the fuel sensor, the sender in the fuel
yeah,
tank, which is about $60 brand
mm,
new, and it's pretty easy to fit that.
yeah,
To be honest, I hate to say it, you know what I'd do? I'd just keep the engine topped up. I'd fill it. I'd just keep the engine topped up. When you fill the car up, set the trip meter to 0. When
yes,
you say you've covered 300 miles, you know you've got to go and get some
yeah,
more fuel.
yeah,
So fill it up, trip computer to 0,000, and just keep looking down and use that as your fuel gauge. You go, oh, I've done 250 um,
mm,
miles. Then go, I'll go and fill the car up,
yep,
and
to the
then
top,
to
yeah,
the top and go, oh, actually, you can work. I mean, I don't know how much a tank of this fuel is in this thing, but you'll be able to work out how much you need to
yeah,
keep doing. And I'd sort of do that. I mean, next time it goes into the garage, just get them to check the fuel the sensor in the back. That's probably what it is. It's probably rusted. But really, I would do that. I'll tell you what I've done recently. I discovered this week.
mm,
The LEDs on my wife's car
yeah,
don't work in a certain section. There's a section between 30 miles an hour on the speedometer, and no, it's between 0 and 40. It's dead. So it's okay in the day, but at
yeah.
night when you put the lights on, that LED is dead.
Doesn't that up?
It
Okay.
doesn't. Right. Anyway, I was listening to some music and tapping on the dashboard the other day, and it came on. It's genius. So all I do now is I get in the car, turn on the lights, and I go, oh, and they come on, and then we drive.
Is it any particular song that you have to play the beat to?
It's staying alive. Or We Will Rock You works as well.
Oh, okay.
And just to knock it on, and now the lights go on.
I think that's maybe just a safety feature, so that you know that if your speedometer goes above that, then you're within the range that you're actually good for
Exactly,
not
I'm
speeding. So it's
cool.
good.
Cool
Yeah,
for urban areas, but that's what
yeah.
I would do. I have had an old Fiat that never ever the fuel tank never read correct at all. So I filled it up once, and then I
Yeah,
just keep a lookout, and I do about 100 miles and go, going to fill it up again. They go, oh, at the time I think it was about £8-10, something like that, and I just keep fueling it
yeah,
every other day, and that's how I'd keep the car on the road. But yeah,
yeah.
if it works for you, keep it going. We do like a beta car on this
Yes.
show. Sarah in Norwich says, all right,
Aha!
Car-Boyz. She says, hope you're both well. People from Norwich must absolutely love that. She says she loves the show, but she's getting very confused about what's going on with electric cars and
Mm.
whether she should buy one. She currently drives this Golf GTI 2009, 2
Ah,
litre, 0 to 60, 7.2 seconds. She said it's her dream car. She's had it for a couple of years. She'd like to keep it, but should she buy an electric car instead? And what happens after 2030? Will she have to give up her petrol cars? She loves a hot hatch. In a word, no. Your
no.
car is fine. It's a very fast hot hatch. I'm very
Yep.
jealous that you own this car. You live in Norwich, not central London. You need to get out and about. I imagine that you get out of the city. If you drive in the countryside, electric car will not have the range for you. That aside, come 2030, you probably won't have this car in 10 years. It'll be illegal to manufacture them in the UK because so much car manufacture goes on here. What? I think it's nothing. So what the government think it's 1960, and it's the hot white burning heat of technology, and we've got Rover, and we've got Triumph, and we've got Jaguar. So look, they're going to ban your manufacturer, and they're going to ban, more importantly, the sale of petrol and diesel cars after 2030. But I would not hold my breath, as we're likely to have gone through at least 2 or 3 governments by then. Plus, what's you to stop you travelling to France and buying a petrol car and bringing it back over here? Because do you remember the good old days back in the 90s? Then people used to go to Holland and buy a right-hand drive car, although they're all left-hand drive, and import it back into the UK, and it was still cheaper than buying the brand new car over here. So to be honest, if they do ban petrol cars, the sale of new petrol cars by 2030, in 2029, just buy a brand new petrol car and you'll be okay for 10 years. Just buy a brand new one of these in 2029, save up your pennies, and you'll probably have it 10, 12 years after. If you've got the cash, buy 2 and put one in the garage. And then in 2040, pull the new one out, put the old one in the garage, and then you've got one for spares.
Yes. Good, cool. Remember, they're being banned from being on sale, but not banning the sale of petrol or diesel.
There you go.
Moving on, Desmond and his wife in Peckham. Oh, okay. Says he's a mobile hairdresser. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, there's no relation to TV show, I don't think. He wants to know what car he should buy to get around. He's selling his 2003 Peugeot 206 Estate. He liked the car because it's easy to park. Yes, because it fits in the space. It's an estate. He can get all his kit in the back. His budget is £3,000. What should he do?
So let's get it right. He wants a small estate car, so we can get the hair dryers and the things that the ladies need. Well, hairdresser's car, of course, you could go for an Audi TT or a Mazda MX-5, Suzuki Vitara, Nissan Juke, a Mini. Sorry, apologies. Seriously, if you need a small estate with room for staff and an auto box, you need an auto box if you're driving in London. We'd go for a small engine, more reliable than a flipping Peugeot. We found a Skoda Fabia, 2012, 70k on the clock, 1 owner, full service history, 1.2 estate, £3,000. That's a lot of car, and it's quite big in the back. It's going to be very slow, but I don't think if you're driving in London, it doesn't matter. A Ferrari is slow in London. Alternatively, 2009 Kia Ceed diesel auto. What an ugly car. 1.6, 51 on the clock, 3 owners. But, and he might like this, Desmond, full leather, full service history, full leather interior, and an auto.
I love that picture because if you look at it shows you that the estate part was just an afterthought.
Oh yeah, they just went. Woo.
We'll just do that.
It was the Office Junior that did that, didn't he? Yeah. His son did that with a pen. Dad, just add like a little bit on the. Yeah, Dad, I'll just do that. Yeah, that's fine. The reason we said no relation to the TV show, of course, there was a TV show on Channel 4 in the 1980s called Desmond's
with Norman Beaton.
He used to come in the pub when I was a student.
Really?
I was a student down in Goldsmiths in southeast London. Yeah. And he used to come in the Goldsmiths Tavern, and Desmond used to drive a Rolls Royce because he used to come in clutching his Rolls Royce what is it called, Spirit of Ecstasy in his hand. He'd come in his camel coat and he'd drink his Guinness at the bar, and he'd put his silver lady, there she go, on the bar like that, and drink his pint of Guinness. Yeah, that's quite rock and roll.
I love that story.
But don't buy a gold Rolls Royce. That's
Yes.
not going to help you be a hairdresser. And try and imagine ttrying to park that in Peckham. Also, with these cars, I mean, I was rather disparaging about both of these cars, but you live in Peckham, and I guess working there. If these get dents, you're not going to worry about them because they're not very
Yeah,
nice cars. I'm just saying.
exactly.
Finally, Sven from Bristol, England says, "Hello, Car-Boyz from the West Country. Hope you're both good." He lives in Hot Wells in Bristol,
Oh, okay.
which is a very nice area, but very close to the city. Now, he's the proud owner of this. Look at
Oh,
this.
yes, this is
Look at
good.
Roger Moore would drive one of these. A 1971 Volvo P1800 in sunburst orange. It's a
Fantastic.
tribute to Sven's native Sweden. He can still, now he's worried because look
Okay.
at I love the black rims on that as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, black rims, the way to go. So I guess that's just black steels as well. Can he still drive this car after 2021? Bristol's going to bring in the ULEZ clean air zone into force.
Yeah.
Hot Wells, where he lives, he's got this car garage, but Hot Wells is inside the zone. Well, here's good news for you. Unlike
Ooh.
London's clean air zone, Bristol's does not apply. Bristol, as opposed to Bristol's, does not apply to petrol cars, only diesel. So you could drive a 6-litre Cadillac through the centre of the city, smoking a large cigar, and no one will give a toss, as long as it burns gasoline, not diesel. In fact, a friend of mine has just bought a Land Rover Evoque with a petrol engine. So her family live right in the centre of Bristol, so she can go and visit them. She was going to buy the diesel, and she said, "Oh, I can't." And I said to her the other day, "What have you bought?" She went, "I've gone and bought the Evoque with a petrol engine." I was like, "Great, there you go." The P1800. Let's show a picture of this. This is pretty. Was
good.
a petrol-driven car. You can drive this fine. Make sure you keep an eye, though, on any local government changes, because things can change at Bristol Council. My mother lived in Bristol. Bristol, this will not work. The ULEZ, Bristol has got the worst transport in any city I have ever visited. I've lived in Bangkok, I've lived in Kuala Lumpur, I've visited Rangoon, I've visited Kathmandu. Bristol has got the worst public transport system. The buses are an hour apart. You live near the centre. You have to wait an hour for a bus. Taxis, this is great. I phoned up for a taxi at 10:30 once in Bristol, in the city centre, in a pub on a Friday night. And I said, "Could I have a taxi for 11:15?" He's got 45 minutes. And his response was, "I don't know whether we can get you that taxi for 11:15. You've got 45 minutes to order me a taxi." The saving grace with that city has been Uber. Uber are now operating in Bristol. And you phone them up and go, "Yeah, I'm around the corner." They come pick you up, and it's great. But there's no tram, there's no trolley bus, there's no trains, there's no underground. It's like, so you want to get somewhere, you want to have a couple of beers or a glass of wine. I don't really want to take the car. And what actually happens is people just drive drunk because there's no taxis. But Uber has been such a saving grace in Bristol.
There you go. It's not all bad having Uber.
I'm sorry, we're gonna have to show this again because
that's beautiful.
Sven, you're a very lucky car, and I hope you and this beautiful lady will be together for many years to come. I believe it's competition time now on the show. It is competition. I guess the music is here, but hang on. Let me find our competition music. Yes, it's the one you always like. I think I've played it already, so it's further up the. Here we go. Competition time now on the show. Yes, competition time now on Car-Boyz time now. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Time now for our weekly quiz. And this week, we're taking our inspiration from that classic TV program, The Pick of the Pops, where the teams had to identify whether a song would become a hit or a miss. I'm in the role of David Jacobs, but unlike David Jacobs, I'm still alive. Instead of records, this is Car-Boyz. It's utility vehicles. So let's get ready to play Pick of the Pickups. This week, the premise behind the competition is that our lucky contestant will have to literally identify that pickup truck, or ute, as they say down in the Antipodes. This week, our lucky contestant is a COVID-free Simon, who's come all the way from the kitchen to the loft. How are you, Simon?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this. I'm not too confident, but I'm looking forward to it.
Super, smashing, great. This week, the price up for grabs is a very exclusive. We all remember the 1980s and the fact that the Ford Sierra dominated the British roads. Well, there was a hybrid of the car. And by hybrid, I mean a very different, not an eco-friendly vehicle that's purely a sop to the Greenpeace. No, Ford had its very own pickup truck in the UK, our own version of the Ranchero. Yes, it was the P100.
Yes.
Basically a Ford Sierra with the back cut off. And
Yes.
yes, it didn't have a 4x4, so it really didn't carry much weight. But what it did do was rust very easily, as you can see from this picture. So the grand prize up for this week is a
Oh,
picture of a rusting P100.
has it got air vents on the bonnet?
I think somebody's put air vents. There's no way.
Fantastic.
There's no way that's got a turbo on it. Look at the state of it. And I reckon he's handmade the bull bars at the back. He's welded that out of some old scaffolding. So let's get ready to pick of the pickups.
Hey.
And first off, here we go. Name this Mercedes pickup. Can you name, stand by, this Mercedes pickup? Is it called the X-Class? Is it called the Rabbit? Or is it called the P-Class? Mercedes now make a pickup truck. Hard to believe, but they do.
I would have guessed that the Rabbit was the name for the Golf. What was the other two options?
The X-Class or the P-Class?
I'm going to take a guess that someone's not very smart and use P for pickup, so I'm going to go for P-Class.
I'm afraid it's the X-Class. Sorry. Okay. That's right. It was the X-Class Mercedes. You may have a Mercedes badge, but the car is assembled by Nissan as has a Nissan Navara body. So it's basically a Nissan Navara with a Mercedes badge on it. Right, here we go. We're off to the United States. What name is given to this Chevy pickup truck? Is it the 4Runner? Is it the Chevy Volt 2000 or the Silverado 1500?
I'm going to take a guess because I'm quite liking the mountain behind it because I don't know anything about American pickups. So I'm going to go for the Silverado.
It is indeed the Silverado 1500. The company's been producing
P100
pickup trucks, Chevy, since 1947. It's very much similar. They're all the same GMC car. Now, the Australians are a strange folk. They live in a hot country full of poisonous insects, and they love meat pies and casual racism. Which brand of Aussie utility vehicle is this? Is it a Holden or is it a Ford? Da, 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 da. Is it a Holden or is it a Ford?
I've got a 50-50 chance of getting that, so I'm going to go for Holden.
It is correct. It's a Holden. Holden, a brand that has dominated Australia and New Zealand since the 1930s, owned by General Motors, and was always the rival to Ford. Unfortunately, February of this year, General Motors decided to close down the brand. I don't think they've been manufacturing in Australia for quite a while. Holden started, I should say, as a manufacturer in 1908, was bought by GM in 1931. Wow, I didn't realize it was as far back as 1908. Look at that. So Holden, now a thing of the past, of course, in the UK, known as Vauxhall.
Yes.
Right, we're staying with pickup trucks, moving now to the Far East, and of course, Honda. What is the name of this pickup truck made by Honda? Is it the Hilux? Is it the L200? Or is it the Ridgemont? Or Ridgemount?
Hilux was Toyota.
No, sorry, I meant Honda. Sorry, I meant Toyota. Excuse me. Somebody that wrote these questions. What's the name of this pickup truck made by Toyota?
Yay! Is it a Hilux? Is it the
L200 or the Ridgemont? I do apologise.
L200 was Mitsubishi. So I'm going to go. Is that a new Hilux?
It is a new Hilux.
Yay!
Apologies for that. Yes, I got my badges mixed up. The H with the T, and
easy mistake.
Easy mistake. The most famous pickup truck outside the USA, the most best-selling pickup truck outside the USA, the Hilux, has been produced since 1968.
Wow.
Extra bonus point. Do you know what Hilux stands for?
High luxury.
Literally high luxury. Correct. Who'd have thunk it? We're back over to the States now. Now, of course, this is the most popular pickup truck in the USA. They have shifted more than 500,000 of these. What is this called? And we will accept it, any.
It's the Ford F-150, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we'll take that. It's the Ford F Series. They've been producing it since 1947. The best-selling vehicle in the USA. The best-selling vehicle in the USA for almost 40 years, 1981.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, why not? You know?
And if you in Britain, we're now on one of our pickups. Ford have decided to use that front end on their pickup.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, why not? The trouble is, Americans can't understand why haven't we got more of these. Our roads are like
Tiny.
this. Our roads. I was working on the Olympics in 2012 with an all-American crew, and they saw a VW Scirocco, and this guy from Utah went, "That's a cute little car." And I went, "That's a mid-sized car." And he went, "No, that's a subcompact. That's like a cute little car." I went, "That's a mid-sized car."
Yeah.
I said, "Keep your eyes out." He was like, "I saw this thing the other day. It was even smaller." I went, "Our roads are tiny." If you live in Wyoming, Wyoming, I think is the size of the UK. I don't know. I might be wrong. I don't care. But I think there's 4 million people in Wyoming. The UK, there's 60 million people. So it's like a quarter of the people in America, and we fit in Wyoming, there's 3 million. The size of what? I think there's 3 million people in Birmingham. Look at this.
Probably, yeah. Wow.
I'd have one of those. Brilliant. It looks great. If you see a man driving that, you want to be him. If you're a woman, you want to be
I do like
with
that.
him. That's great, isn't it? You wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be listening to a lot of country and western, and I tell you what, Nazareth. Every time I see a pickup truck, the band Nazareth come to mind. Okay, moving on. So you've actually got you're 5 out of 5 because you answered the bonus question correctly.
Yes.
Question 6, halfway through the quiz, staying with Ford and the F Series. Which motorcycle manufacturer teamed up with Ford's F-150?
Oh, I know this one.
Yes.
Harley Davidson?
It is Harley Davidson.
Yes.
Ford teamed up with the Milwaukee motorcycle manufacturer in the years 2000, 2011, and again in 2018 to date to make the Harley Davidson F-150, because you can put your Harley on the back of your Ford F-150 and prove what an American you are. Fantastic.
Exactly.
Yes. I think very sexy car. Moving on swiftly, 6 out of 6. The Italians are not famed for their love of pickup trucks, but they do arguably produce the world's smallest pickup truck.
Ooh.
Right. What is the name of that pickup truck? It's arguably the world's smallest. Is it the Fiat flatbed? Is it the Vespa carryall? Or is it the Piaggio Ape or Ape?
Oh, I think this is going to be a tricky one. I think it's going to be either the Vespa or the Piaggio. Oh, I'm going to...
Would you like to see a picture of it?
Yes.
I think it changed the oil in the movie Cars. It was a little Italian guy. Yeah, hey, come to my garage. I'll come and change your oil. So is it the Fiat flatbed, the Vespa carryall, or the Piaggio Ape or Ape?
I'm going to take a guess at Piaggio.
It is the Piaggio Ape or Ape. Produced since 1948, there are currently 2 model ranges. They still make this. The Ape 50 with a 50cc petrol engine, and the larger, if you've got heavy goods to carry, like 2 apples. The Ape TM, which, wait for it, comes with a 218cc petrol engine or a 422 diesel engine. The 50 can carry up to 205 kilograms, which is probably our weight combined. Yes. So if you and me were in the front, it couldn't carry any more weight. Could you get 2 people in the front? If you were in the front and I was in the back, that'd be it. That'd be it, right? I can't carry any more weight. I mean, Italians are over. Yes, exactly. The TM can carry 800 kilograms.
Oh, that's a good Friday night then.
So that's if we have a kebab and a few beers, we need the extra 150cc. But to be honest, if you live in somewhere like, and again, if you're American, you won't appreciate this, but if you live in the Amalfi Coast and one of those little tiny towns or Sicily, and you're a very small Italian man who owns a little greengrocers, that probably is a great little car. And plus, you could take that car and then you could put it onto the back of this car. You
Like
could
the
drive
Thunderbirds.
your pickup. When the pickup breaks down, you could get in that car.
And what I love is you can pick it up with one hand. And take it.
Oh, yeah, if you get stuck and you need to turn it round, you could just literally just drag it, use one foot to sort of drag yourself around. Look, 7 out of 7 so far. Correct.
Hey.
Nearing the end of the quiz. Don't worry, folks. This is nearly all over. Back to the US now. Big trucks. Which pickup truck is this? Is this the GMC Nevada 3500? Is it the GMC Sierra 3500? Or is it the GMC Tucson 3500? It's got 3,500, but is it the Nevada, the Sierra, or the Tucson?
I'm going to take a guess because I think I saw one of these driving near Earls Court this week. I think it's the Sierra.
Oh, you're correct. I can't believe this. Originally released about 3 years ago. It's basically a Chevy Silverado that we featured earlier on. It's rear-wheel drive, 6.6 litre.
Wow.
You got the... With a V8 engine, 401 horsepower, 464 torques, perfect for the school run. And then you could buy one of these, which has 10
I think kids would love that one better.
10 times less than this. No, my son would go, girl car. He's only 5. I want that car. Seriously. I have not said anything. We're at the moment where he doesn't like the colour pink, and I'm like, hey, it's 21st century, pink's fine, guys can wear pink. And he's going, no, we can't. It's a girlish colour. That's a boy's car. That's a girlish car. The Americans do the best pickup trucks. Oh, you're doing well. 8 out of 8. Americans do the best pickup trucks. That goes without saying. But we couldn't use those big 4x4s, as we said before, in Europe or Asia. Which Japanese company came up with this neat little 4x4 pickup truck back in the 1990s? There's a clue. It comes in a van and a camper van version.
See, I was going to go for it was like the Suzuki Rascal type thing. So
you're halfway there. Basically, there was a British company that also did this car.
Bedford did it then.
Yes.
So it was the Bedford Rascal.
It was the Bedford Rascal. That's correct. Yeah. But the original Japanese name was the Suzuki.
No, I'm not.
No, it was the Suzuki Car-Boyz, which comes in a tipper version as well, which is 660cc. It's the Japanese K-car pickup, perfect to help the crankies move house, or should that be shoebox? Now, I have a great story about this as well. My brother lived in Ipswich, and there were 2 Sikh guys that used to travel around in one of these. And they were big Sikh boys from the Punjab. They were huge. And Rob said, you'd see them in this, and they'd be driving around with the turbans on, and they could hardly fit in. And Rob used to say, he didn't know what they did. He reckoned they were debt collectors. He used to drive around in one of these.
If I'm not mistaken, they were also mid-engine, so they wouldn't tip over because the engine's in the middle.
The engine is under there somewhere.
Yeah.
Fantastic Suzuki Car-Boyz. Final question. So you did get that one. So far you're on target to win the picture.
Oh yes, come on the picture. Come on, P1.
In the late 1950s, Chevy renamed their light trucks, formerly known as Task Force. They renamed it to which Native American or First Nation people's American tribe? This is the car, but what did they name it? Did they name it the Navajo? Did they name it the Apache? Or did they name it the Cherokee? In the late 1950s.
I don't think it'd be the Cherokee because that's something else. Who makes it?
It's a Chevrolet.
Chevy Cherokee. No, I don't think it's a. I'm going to go for. So you had the Navara and you had. I'm going to go for Apache.
It is down. Was of course Apache. Cherokee, the name adopted by Jeep for the SUV in the 1990s. The Mazda Navajo was a copy of the Land Rover Disco in the 1990s.
Okay.
Back in the 1950s, Apache, not inspired by the Shadows song at all, was the classic US truck that we came to know and love, and I think that is the most beautiful pickup truck I've ever seen. I absolutely adore that. Well done, Simon. You've won. The crowd are going crazy. Fantastic. Well done. Of course. Shut up. Yes, of course, you have won a picture of a 1987 Sierra P100. Got to be very careful, though. if you put this next to pictures of other cars, the rust will spread. That's it from the show. Join us next week. Hopefully we won't have COVID. We might be ill from a vaccine, but that remains to be said. I shall go and take my usual injection I do of a Friday night into my neck, and we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye and ta-ta! And get this thing to work.